Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with the political vigilante. It's Graham Melwood. Hi, Graham.
How you doing?
Graham's going to be on the Progressive Comedy Tour with Ron Placone January in Florida. Go to grahamelwood.com for tickets. So Trump is pulling out, has announced a pullout of from Syria, U.S. troops. Now, I don't know exactly why he's doing that, except that maybe he's fulfilling a campaign promise, because I keep hearing reports over and over. Trump wants to pull out of Afghanistan. He wants to pull out of Syria. He doesn't know why the hell we're there, stuff like that. There's also theories going around that he's got business dealings in Turkey, and he wanted to do a nice thing for Erdogan, who's the leader of Turkey, because he wants to go into Syria and smash the Kurds. And right now the United States is protecting the Kurds. And so some people are saying that that's why he did it. I don't know why he did it. I'm just glad he did it, or is saying he's doing it, pulling out of Syria. I hope he pulls out of it. He also announced he wants a plan to pull out of Afghanistan. This is unbelievable, kind of. Of course, I'm skeptical of his motives, but it doesn't really matter what the end result. If the end result is the same, I don't care what his motives are. I don't care if it's to get himself a girlfriend. If we pull out of war, that's a good thing. Now I'm going to show you, this is going to be, if you watched any news or read any about, everybody universally is against Trump doing this, pulling out of a war. And we've told you here at the show that the establishment news will always be for more war. Always. And it's ubiquitous. And did they bring on Phil Donahue on MSNBC to debunk the Syrian war? No. They brought on people who are pro-Syrian war and anti-Donald Trump. So now I'm going to show you, Tucker Carlson had a guy come on from former Obama administration official, comes on to argue that for more war in Syria. Now keep this in mind. They've been wanting to overthrow Syria for decades. Decades, okay? Keep that in mind. And when Barack Obama wanted to invade Syria or bomb them the first time, he said, I'm going to put it to a vote in Congress, right? Because he thought he would win it because the military-industrial complex owns that place, except they didn't win that vote. And that, remember, he drew the line in the sand, and then they didn't do anything. He didn't go in because Congress didn't vote for war. Guess what? He did go in. There's troops in Syria, and they bombed the shit out of it anyway. No one ever talks about that. We're in another country illegally. That's another country we're in illegally. So watch. So here's Tucker Carlson. He brings on, and so this is indicative. I'm bringing this. I'm going to show you this debate between Tucker Carlson and this guy. And there, again, the reason why I'm showing you Tucker Carlson is because people have such a low opinion of Tucker Carlson. I mean, the liberal class and the Democrats. And the reason I show up is because if Tucker Carlson can get it right, that means you should get it right too. Because Tucker Carlson is just as dumb as me. And that's why I show you Tucker Carlson. You should be embarrassed that Tucker Carlson can ask critical questions that you won't. That's why I show you this. So here we go.
Trace Gallagher, great to see you tonight. Thank you for that. David Tafuri is an attorney. He's a former Obama campaign advisor, and he joins us tonight. David, thanks so much for coming on. So,
former Obama campaign advisor. Okay. I never heard of this guy, but here we go.
Moments like this are so instructive because they really do divide the world into very clear sectors. You sort of know who's on whose side. And I find this interesting because the rationale has changed. So people are saying, we need to fight ISIS, but that's not really the point. The point is to counterbalance Russia and Iran. And I'm wondering, is that A, our goal, B, achievable with 2,000 troops in Syria? Like, what actually is the goal? I'm losing track.
First of all, that's a great question. Second, because he's pointing out wait a minute, what is our goal? I thought our goal. So just I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This shows you how BS the war is in Syria and from the United States perspective. People want to stay there so we can fight ISIS. Well, ISIS is fighting Assad. So if we're fighting ISIS, aren't we helping Assad? And if we want to stay there because we want to overthrow Assad, aren't we helping ISIS? So either way, we're helping one of our enemies. No one ever. So that shows you that they just want to keep forces there to keep forces there. And he's saying, well, we're really there to counterbalance Russia and Iran's influence there, right? What's our goal? Here we go.
Well, there are a couple goals. It's to fight ISIS. It's also to push back on Iran and on Russia. So fight ISIS,
push back on Iran and Russia. But ISIS is pushing back on Iran and Russia. ISIS is pushing in Syria. ISIS is pushing back on Iran and Russia because they're fighting Assad, and Iran, Russia, and Assad are all aligned together. So again, this whole conversation is going to go on like this, where he says contradictory things like this, because this is how all these conversations go, because our presence in Syria is complete bullshit. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, because the several things too. The whole ISIS. Now, Serena Shim was a journalist that uncovered the fact that we were funding ISIS and funneling them through our bases in Turkey into Syria.
Correct.
And she had a mysterious car accident.
Yep.
And so this is so ridiculous. It's like they have been lying so much and getting away with it, they don't even need to keep their story straight.
I know.
It's just like, oh, we got to fight ISIS, ISIS, ISIS. Keep everyone afraid of ISIS.
Keep everyone afraid. It's perfect. It's almost like the perfect tool to keep the war machine going unabated, right? So here we go.
Stunning about this development is all of President Trump's foreign policy advisors and top military advisors were against this decision. And
yeah, I know. They're all crazy warmongers. Mattis is a crazy warmonger. All those people who are they're the same people who got us into all 8 wars. They're the people who've kept us in Afghanistan for 17 going on 18 years. They're the people who had us do Iraq. They're the people who had us do Libya. They're the people who want us to stay in Syria. Yeah, that's why people elected Trump and not Mattis.
What this guy should say is all of those people who are giving 6- and 7-figure defense industry contracts don't want him to stop the gravy train.
Reverse them today, suddenly, in a rash decision. Now, the reason why we should...
Suddenly, it's a rash decision to pull out of war, but it's never a rash decision to go into war before you have a vote, again, they're in Syria on the authorization for the use of military force, which was given to President Bush to go fight Al-Qaeda. And now they're using it to go into all these countries. So now it's a blank check to go into any. All you got to do is say there's ISIS or there's terrorists in that country, and we're going to go in under this authorization from frickin' 18 years ago. And so here we go.
The same people who think we should stay in Afghanistan, right? So
some of them are the same, but the reasons are different. The reasons are different.
So do you see what Tucker does? He goes, you mean the people who think we should stay in Afghanistan are the ones he's crossing Trump? Yeah, what? Do you see that was pretty clever of Tucker actually to do that? Do you see that? Okay.
Trump's top policy advisor said, we are going to stay in Syria until we have 1, rolled back Iran. That has not happened. 2, defeated ISIS. We have made...
Why do we get to go into someone else's country and fight another country in someone else's country? You know why Iran's in Syria? Because the government of Syria invited them there. You know why we're there? We're there illegally to try to overthrow illegally another government in another country. That's illegal, just like we did in Syria. I mean, just like we did in Iraq, just like we did in Libya, just like we did in Afghanistan, just like we did in Iran in 1954, whatever year that was.
And just like Mexico is doing, they've sent troops and bombs into America to stop the Mexican drug cartel.
Oh, right. Could you imagine if they did that? Imagine if Mexico was bombing and killing people inside of our country because they're their enemies.
The global war on drugs that Mexico was funding.
Yeah. So here we go.
Major progress in fighting ISIS, but we haven't fully defeated them. I was in Iraq in October. Nobody on the ground in Iraq tells me we defeated ISIS there. And ISIS...
What does that have to do with ISIS in Syria? Again, nobody tells it. So as long as there's ISIS, we have to keep spending $700 billion a year to fight them. Again, ISIS doesn't even have an airplane. They don't even have an airplane. Just so you know.
$5 to $9 trillion. There's a $4 trillion gray zone with the global war on terror that's 17 going on 18 years now. You would think we have got terrorism locked up.
Yep.
$5 trillion. Gee, I wonder what America and the world could look like if we spent that money on, infrastructure, a Green New Deal. What would America
look like?
What would it look like?
Let's remember, you can solve world hunger for $30 billion a year.
Yes. It's unbelievable. Imagine if we were still having this conversation on the news about fighting Germany and Japan in 1958.
Yeah, right?
Imagine
Imagine that. Because that's what the equivalent is.
even stronger in Syria.
The difference is Germany was actually a threat.
Yeah.
That's the big difference. Afghanistan is not a threat to the United States.
No.
Never was. What about Saudi? They came from Saudi Arabia.
Still, moreover, all of Trump's policy advisors have said we should stay in Syria until there's a political solution.
That's maybe another option. So there wasn't actually ISIS in Syria when the Assad government controlled the whole country. Christians and other religious minorities, a lot of them, lived in relative peace. Now they're hunted down and murdered. Why wouldn't it just be the simplest, most elegant, best solution for everyone involved if Assad managed his entire country again?
Because you're ignoring the history and the development of the revolution in Syria. The revolution in Syria
It just happened a few years
It happened
ago.
Organically. It began in...
No. The CIA started it.
Okay, so that's not true. So Tucker lets this guy say this at least a few more times. It did not. The Syrian revolution was artificially started by millions of dollars pumped into there by the CIA and Saudi Arabia. That did not. It wasn't an Arab Spring like everybody says. That's a lie. It was started by us, the United States, the CIA, and Saudi Arabia. That's who started the war to overthrow Assad in Syria. So he's going to say this a couple more times. Good. Graham knew immediately it was wrong. I knew it. Here we go.
2011. It happened organically, right? And so Syria was an authoritarian state before that with tons of oppression. Maybe Christians were okay there.
Is there a non-authoritarian?
But people were not.
Is there a non-authoritarian state in that region other than Israel?
Bam. So we should invade every state that's an authoritarian state? And he's saying, is there one that isn't besides Israel?
Well, to be fair, so if there's a state that, let's say, I don't know, shoots water cannons at people that just want clean water on their sovereign land, we should attack them, right? Or is that what we should do?
What about a state that? What about a government that shoots medics that are helping protesters that are unarmed?
Oh, we should
invade them. Maybe, I don't know. I guess according to this guy, if there's
what about a country that is actively letting poison water go to its citizens for years?
Right.
That they're. I mean, it sounds like a humanitarian crisis.
What about a country that locks up its poor people at a greater rate than anybody else in the world?
That sounds like a country that's a rogue state to me.
Rogue state, yeah. So I love how he says this. Now let's watch the answer. Is there a country in that area that is an authoritarian? Why? So he's saying is, why are you inventing reasons that aren't consistent? You're being inconsistent. So why here? So that's not the real reason. So what he's doing is outing him as you just said because it's an authoritarian regime. That's not the real reason. And that's what this question does, reveals it to not be the real reason. Again, you can't tell us the real reason. The real reason is you're there at the behest of Israel and Saudi Arabia because they want to put a pipeline through Syria. So they can't say that. So he has to make. So that's why it's so easy for Tucker to knock this shit down and expose it as the bullshit it is. Here we go.
There are less authoritarian states.
Oh, no, but I mean, Jordan's an authoritarian state. Criticize the king and see what happens. So, like, that's the rule in the region.
You cannot compare Jordan to Syria. You can't even compare Syria to Iraq, which has a fledgling democracy.
I'm just saying authoritarian justifies nothing. They're all authoritarians, okay?
But the point is that this was...
When Tucker Carlson can tear you apart that easily, you have a horrible argument. And this is like that's his first argument. And he just got ripped apart. A, it wasn't an organic uprising, and B, so what if it's an authoritarian? That's not a justification for anything.
Organic revolution. The U.S. didn't start this revolution. It started by the Syrian people.
No, it wasn't. That is a falsehood. That is a blatant lie. And if that guy doesn't know that, he's the dumbest guy in the world asked to talk about this on TV. He knows that, and I'm going to say he's lying about it. I'm going to stick my neck out and say I'm going to speculate that this guy is lying.
The best possible outcome from this guy is he goes, "Hey, was the CIA involved in that?" And they go, "Here's a big check. Shut up."
Shut up.
He goes, "Okay."
Here we go.
Majority of whom are Sunni Arabs. They stood up against Assad. He chose, rather than to reconcile with them, he chose to mow them down and slaughter tens of thousands of innocent, peaceful protesters. That's how the revolution began.
But I'm not defending Assad's character. I'm merely saying from the perspective, why would I?
Yeah.
I'm not Syrian. I don't work for Assad. I'm an American, and I want to know what's best for us. And if you're worried about the chaos and the huge refugee problems caused by this civil war and by the emergence of ISIS, again, abetted by the civil war, then why wouldn't you long for the days where Christians could live unmolested in Syria under this authoritarian Assad? I'm totally missing it. What am I missing?
That's not. This is actually going to cause more refugees. Okay, northeast.
Stopping war causes more refugees, Graham.
That's throughout history. Every time we stop a war, there's more refugees.
More refugees.
Yeah, I mean, so the 600,000 people that were killed and the 14 million refugees, so those numbers are going to go up when we end war.
When we end the war.
So when you stop bombing where people live and they can go back to where they can live and live freely, they're going to want to live somewhere else.
You know, Graham, you stop the bombing and the emergency room visits go up.
Oh,
I don't know how that works.
Weird.
You got to bomb so you keep the injuries lower.
Oh, okay.
Again, it's up is down, black is white, in is out. This is what it looks like when you have to argue for our presence in Syria. This is what it looks like. Tucker Carlson can destroy you.
Syria right now is secure. The reason it's secure is because of the great work by our U.S. Special Forces working with the SDF, the local Syrian and moderate Sunni forces on the ground. They've secured it. And actually, there are less refugees coming from that area. The people can stay there peacefully. They're not getting bombed by Assad.
And
when we pull out, it's going to cause a massive wave of Syrian refugees again, because forces are going to go in and slaughter the forces that we've been working with on the ground. Yes, Assad forces, Iranian Shia militia forces, and possibly even Russian forces.
Okay, and so we're responsible for that. Because so this is halfway around the world. We have crises like Venezuela's collapsed. It's right there. Mexico has probably as many murders as Syria. I mean, not close, right? So, like, I'm just saying there are a lot of things going on, but we have a moral obligation to keep 2,000 American troops in this country around the world. Because why? I'm honest. I'm confused.
Well, first of all, we are there already, and it's successful. So,
again, he won't say why, because we're there already, and it's successful. What is this? What's the mission? He already asked, "What's our mission?" He won't tell you. He just asked, "Why are we there?" He won't tell you. He'll say, "Because we're already there." That's amazing. That was amazing. Well, we're already there. Why are we there again? Well, because we're already there. This is amazing, right? That's why I picked this clip. I've been watching this kind of stuff for a whole week. No one sounds smarter than this guy. They all sound just as dumb. And pick a station. Pick CNN, pick MSNBC, pick any station. They all sound just as dumb as this guy.
And he's so flustered because that expression right there is almost like you're not supposed to be asking these questions. You're just supposed to be saying war, war, war.
Right.
And all we should be debating is how we're going to war.
Those
are the only debates you're
So that's a great point. So let's remember that the liberal class is there to set the parameters of the debate. So you can have a loud debate inside these parameters, and this is war and war. You can't go, hey, how about no war? That's outside the parameters. You can talk about how much war or what kind of war, but you can't go no war. That's over. That's why you never see Medea Benjamin or me or actual peace activists on MSNBC or CNN. And if you do, they're only there so they can shit on them. So let's go back to this guy a little bit.
Pull out. We also do have some obligation to the forces on the ground
successful in what way?
Who fought bravely alongside us. Moreover, this is going to impact us because ISIS will come back. And if we don't have forces on the ground to monitor ISIS and to continue to combat ISIS, ISIS will come back. ISIS are sworn enemies of the U.S.
ISIS will come back. Come back where? He asked like they're going to come back to they've never been to the United States, ISIS. They're not here. They're not attacking us. No one's attacking us in the United States. 17 years ago, we had an attack by a bunch of guys from Saudi Arabia who hijacked some planes. We haven't had it since. ISIS never came here. You know why ISIS is ISIS? Because we invaded their country. And we overthrew Saddam Hussein, and they became ISIS. That's why. So he's saying we need to do more. There'll be another ISIS. We created Al-Qaeda. Now there's ISIS. There'll be another one. As soon as they need one, there'll be another one.
And let's go back to the Mexican drug cartel analogy for a sec. Let's say your neighbor here is the evil Mexican drug cartel
Right.
running awful stuff out of their house. You know it. Everyone in the neighborhood knows it, but you're afraid to do anything. And then instead of sending a SWAT team to go arrest them, Mexico drone strikes them
Drone strikes a house next door to me.
next door to you and kills somebody you love or care about.
Right.
Are you going to be all like, yay, Mexico?
Mexico.
I'm going to join this other country that just blew up my neighborhood.
Right.
But they got the bad guys, Jimmy.
They got the bad guys, and they killed me.
They killed you or someone you care about. Brownie got taken out. You're going to be like, no, I'm going to join the whatever ISIS would
right.
pop up.
Whatever ISIS would pop. Exactly right. That's how you create terrorists. Here we go.
Want to kill Americans, and when they become stronger in Syria, they'll strike out against America again. So your viewers should worry.
They'll strike out against them. When did ISIS ever strike out against America? I love that. Then this is fear-mongering 101. Just keep talking fear. They're going to come back. They're going to come back in Syria, and then they're going to attack us. Attack us in Syria? We're not going to be in Syria. We shouldn't be in Syria. We shouldn't be in Iraq. We shouldn't be in Libya. We shouldn't be in Afghanistan. We shouldn't be where ISIS is. But this is it. This is how it goes.
Their own security because of this decision.
Well, there are a lot of reasons to worry about our own security. A lot.
Sure.
Many. And our mental health and our economy and our healthcare. So there's a lot of things to worry about. But by the standards that you've just articulated, like, we're never going to leave there or Afghanistan or any place that we've been for more than 8 months. So
I wouldn't say we are never going to leave there, but we have to see progress on the ground. We have to see.
I wouldn't say we're never going to leave, but probably never. I wouldn't say never, but we've got to see things happen that will never happen.
Like, here's the thing. And
That's amazing.
And it's great. You're going back to the parameters that are set, right?
Yeah.
By the ruling class is we're not allowed to say, well, gee, what if we spent $5 trillion in Afghanistan building hospitals and schools and actually giving. Afghanistan is a great example. One of the poorer, most third world countries out there that has had tribalism and war. It is the most heavily mined country from the Russians. Their only crop is heroin, is opium, right? Like, what if we actually put money into making their lives better versus just blowing them up?
I mean, you could just have a plane fly over Afghanistan and just shovel out money.
Yeah, yes.
To the people, at $1 million at a time. And it would do way more for them than what we're doing is shoveling out bombs.
Yeah.
Why not just shovel out the money to help the people? And maybe they wouldn't want to kill us.
Yeah. Hey, America just gave you $100,000 in a country where the monthly wage is about $300.
Right.
Can you imagine?
Well, it's the same thing in the United States. We're not going to help a homeless person find an apartment that would probably cost, maybe $500 a month or something, but we will put you in a jail cell that costs $70,000 a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because
that's the same thing. Why wouldn't you just go to those people? Anyway, it's just... All right, so we got to end this segment. He keeps saying stupid stuff. I could go on and on and on, but we have to end this segment. You want to see what else? Let's do one more. I bet she says something stupid. Here we go.
Defeat of ISIS. We have to see political progress towards a peaceful resolution in Syria, and there ought to be a democracy in Syria.
Who cares about that? The question.
Who cares about
I'll tell you what I care about is what's happening to the Christians there. Like, nobody cares. I don't understand. We invade Iraq. It's a huge Christian community. They all leave.
Well, who are killing the Christians in Iraq?
I'm not
ISIS.
Of course, but I'm just saying, well, why don't we make it an explicit...
Islamic militants are killing Christians in Iraq.
I'm not defending ISIS. I'm just saying, why don't we make it an explicit concern of the United States to protect the Christians? But we don't.
It is an explicit concern.
No, it's not, actually. We don't let it in.
It's an explicit concern of the U.S. to protect all minorities in Syria and Iraq, of which the Christian minorities are an important part of.
They don't seem that important to anyone here. But anyway, I hope they are. They're important to me. I'm glad they're important to you. David, thank you.
So there you go. At the last point, he was saying he actually went against Trump because we don't let any of we don't care about those Christian refugees. We don't let any of them in our country because Trump put the Muslim ban in, but it's not a Muslim ban. It's a ban on nations that are majority Muslim, but there's the Christians who want to come in from there. Trump has banned them too. So that's what Tucker's referring to. Do you see how this guy didn't have one argument he could actually defend? Not one argument that's defensible.
It's staggering to me, and it's just like, you're not supposed to speak up when, again, like you said, when Tucker Carlson is calling you out. He can effortlessly, he just destroyed that guy. Yeah. And you have to go online. Like, there's the woman I follow, Sarah Abdullah, is like showing, and I'm watching other people going, here's Christians in Damascus celebrating Christmas because there's no more war here.
Right.
And this guy thinks like
It'd be better if ISIS won that war, so then they would kill all those Christians.
yeah.
That's what would happen.
And look, the only photos we get out of Syria are the ones behind Tucker Carlson. Bombs,
Right.
bombed out. There's people in Damascus. Stop
Having a regular life right now.
and they're Christians. They're dressed nice. There's restaurants. There's lights. There's not that. They only show Aleppo.
Right.
And we don't get anything close to the real story.
That is true. Well, you get a little bit closer here. So there you go. More proof of how horrible the establishment is pushing more war. And they always will. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is February 1st in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a list of all our live shows, and please become a premium member if you can. Become a patron. It's the way we support this show because they're coming at us, and we give you bonus. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Check it out. Become a patron. And if you can, make sure you're still subscribed. They unsubscribe people every day. I know it sounds crazy. It only takes a second. Please make sure and click that bell when you subscribe so they'll send you a notice when we drop a video. Thanks for your support.